Alright guys, welcome back to Valorant News, and after the Africa TV tournament has concluded, Rostermania is officially back on the menu with DRX, another 6th place finish from them, finally deciding after all this time, way back to the Vision Strikers days, to make a roster change from their starting main team. With RB and Zest moving to the bench going forward, they'll be put on the restricted free agent list, and they're looking to move those players on as soon as they feasibly can. They're making changes, Foxy9 is coming in, Flashback is coming in as well. Is this going to be a change that takes them and step in the right direction? Is it about time this change is made, or is this actually a massive surprise making this change now rather than slightly earlier in the offseason, or even just sticking it out until the new season begins? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Just a quick update as well yesterday. So we talked about that big letter really that Leo Fario and the guys at Valorant made to the community, and I didn't really mention this specifically, but he did mention that the VCT is somewhat tightly packed, i.e. it kind of starts in February time, finishes in September, October, whatever. So their opinion is there's kind of too much action. Not exactly too much. I wouldn't say there's too much Valorant being played in that period. I'd say there's probably about the right amount of Valorant being played. From a fan perspective, from the team's perspective, I get it. They play a lot, there's no breaks. And I get that. Maybe they need to find mid-season breaks or something to that effect. But the other point that he made is there's a lot of action between February and September, but there's nothing for the rest of the season. So that's something they're trying to figure out, to maybe spread out the Valorant action in season, but also make it sure that there isn't no action for 4, 5, 6 months. Thankfully, in the Valorant world at least, we have third-party tournaments, as we have just seen, to kind of fill the void. There's also some updates on the VCT Ascension in China. So, as expected, the winner will receive a 2-year promotion to the VCT Chinese League, as it is elsewhere. So there's 10 teams, of course, in the main league. We saw yesterday that Rare Atom, they didn't make it. So these are the 8 participating Ascension teams. But the cool thing about this is they don't have to wait the entire year to get into Ascension, because every other league now has 11 teams. So they also want the Chinese region to have 11 teams, because 43 teams in the league is a weird number. They want it to be 44. So they're going to run Ascension just over Christmas, December 23rd to the 30th. These are the 8 teams. So Rare Atom, Attacking Soul Esports, Dragon Ranger Gaming, Ninjas in Pajamas, Nightwings Gaming, 70 Gaming, 4 Angry Men, and Keep Best Gaming are going to go through. So, it's difficult to say favourites. Rare Atom are definitely going to be up there. Attacking Soul Esports definitely going to be up there. And one of these teams at the end of the month will be officially in the partnered VCT League for 2 seasons at least. So, all these guys just a few days ago were informed they won't be getting a spot in Partnership League, but they will have a chance in a couple of weeks to do exactly that. So that's definitely exciting stuff. Forsaken as well from the APAC region, not happy about the number of cheaters. I know there was also talks from Riot about the updates of their anti-cheat, but there's definitely quite a few at the moment, and as always, the cheaters or whatever, the cheat programmers are always making strides against the anti-cheat, and it's constantly a game of catch-up. For example, this guy that Forsaken points out here has some rather interesting statistics, 15-0, he's got a 2 KD, he's got, 200 damage per round, with about 7 hours of playtime, so I guess this guy just got a good gaming chair, to be honest. That must be the only explanation for this. There was also pretty cool, I thought, the Cozy Clash coming up soon. Tarek and the Little Bros are entering, of course, a Game Changers team for this tournament, so just the good thing. There's all sorts of tournaments going on all the time, but the big one really the other day was the Africa TV tournament, and we'll get into that in a second. Steel also mentions, though, he was playing yesterday a bit of a tournament going on, and people were confused. Why is Steel playing in these cups, playing in these tourneys? I thought this guy was retired. What's going on? So Seal says the following: I'm not looking to compete as a priority for the foreseeable future. My top priorities are working on the YouTube channel and getting hired for tournament broadcast desk work as an analyst. So that's his intention. Therefore, to do so, he's not going to retire as a competitor exactly, but if I enjoy both YouTubing and I'm hired for events, then there's a chance I don't try and compete again. So he maybe is kind of coming back, he's kind of not coming back. This is his plan, but he's still going to make tournaments, he's still going to play tournaments, make videos, and try and get on the desk work, which I think I'd like to see. Still a very knowledgeable guy on esports history, especially on the Counter-Strike, and then of course the Valorant days as well. Controversial character for several reasons, but we've seen him play for a long time in esports, so it would be nice to have him back in some form or another. Also though, from DDK, we know that DDK, again, somewhat controversial, but I miss his casting, to be honest. I'm a massive fan of DDK's casting. DDK's Sean Gares, of course, and that was a duo. Evo, and then they went to 100 Thieves to work with them on their project. That's now fizzled out, and DDK was hoping to return as VCT talent, but he hasn't been selected. Whether that's because they don't want him for various reasons, whether that's because they don't need him, have they got enough English-speaking talent possibly? I like DDK's casting personally, so hoping that he finds a good step going forward. But if there's no caster mania, then there certainly is, again, roster mania, roster changes going down here shortly before Christmas. So we saw yesterday George Geddes says that NRG have a pretty scary roster. I don't know when this is exactly going to be confirmed. I thought we would know about this for a long time now, and George actually says that now, he's working with teams and stuff, would be unethical of him to actually report on, do the leaks. But if he knows that this roster is set, it can only be a few days until we find out what NRG are actually doing. Even I think it was NRG's coach Chet said that it was last weekend's they were informing their new analyst from their selection period who he's going to be. So it must be like this week, late this week, where NRG are going to confirm what's going on with their team. And the rumours that maybe Demon 1 and Ethan are going there with Victor Martin Crashies. That roster, if it is formed, will have lots to say on it because there's no clear IGL, but there's a lot of talent. So we'll talk about that in the coming days as and when we hear more on that. George Geddes seems to think it's rather good. But DRX, they played this past weekend at the Africa TV International Tournament, and they kind of got bodied, to be honest. They played with their traditional roster. I, for one, was surprised after another relatively lackluster finish for DRX at Champions last year that they didn't just call it a day then with their roster. Back since the Vision Strikers days, now on DRX, they fell short, but they've stuck with their team again. They just keep placing 6th and they keep sticking with their team. So this season, though, the DRX prospects team, they've been trying out Foxy9, of course, in the roster, and also Flashback. And when Flashback's been in, I think this guy's looks particularly good. So they confirmed, though, going into Africa TV tournament, that no, Flashback's now not in the team anymore, and it's Foxy9 is also out of the team, and they're playing with their old roster, or their planned roster, that they were never going to make changes from. So they played that for the Africa TV tournament. They got bodied in the group stages, really. Okay, they won a series, but they lost to Sentinels and to PaperX emphatically. So, and I guess that was the final straw for this roster that's been a thing for a very long period of time. So they released this video today, DRX, and they confirm in the replies that Flashback has been called up to join the main team from DRX Prospects. So that they meant, okay, well, who's going to go, what's happening there, and shortly afterwards they confirmed that they will transition RB and Zest from the starting roster to the reserve roster as restricted free agents. And, restricted free agents definitely implies that they're keen to, let these players go. They say for any inquiries, please reach out to us, basically saying, look, if you want to buy these players, there will be a buyout, but, we're happy to let them go, as in, this is not a, oh, let's just see what happens with Flashback and Foxy9 in the team. This is a no, we've made the decision, these guys are not coming back anytime soon unless things get much worse with the main roster that they now have. So it's a shame to see an end of an era. I will say I'm somewhat surprised by this in the way that I thought they were going to do this before before we even got anywhere near underway. I thought they were going to make this quite a while ago, this decision, or maybe not for these players, but I'm just surprised that they ended Champions and they kept the same team. They kind of didn't, because over the last couple of months, they've been trying multiple teams. I mean, we can go back here to Champions. They lost to Fnatic. Of course, with that roster, Mako, Stax, Buzz, RB, Zest, and even at the time, RB and Zest bottom of the score, but whatever, right? They lost the series. Mako, Buzz, Stax, so it makes sense those guys are going to say. They lost to Fnatic. They went out of the tournament. Lower round 2, that was another top 6, wasn't it? So you know how it goes. Then they played the 10 Global Invitational, though. They ended up losing to Cloud9 in the finals here. And this tournament, they played with Flashback and Foxy9. So this seemed to be their, new iteration roster that they were trying out here. And then, though, after losing that, they then went to the Red Bull Homegrounds. They played with the same team again with Foxy9 and Flashback. Still, Flashback looked pretty good. They lost to Fnatic, though, again. And then they turn up to the Africa TV League a month later, and they decide to bring their, old squad, really, and the squad that they said they were keeping all along with RB and Zest in. Now, Buzz and Mako here have to have, massive series to even beat Full Sense. They struggled to get past Full Sense here, really. They lost game 1. They had to win a massive overtime and then won 13-6 final map. And after that, they then played, of course, Sentinels. They got bodied by, this wasn't that close, 13-8. Okay, the split was close, to be fair, but you know, they got 2-0'd. And then Paper-X was the embarrassing one, really, where they lost 13-7, 13-6, which is probably a bit of a nail in the coffin, right? I mean, you're losing to your biggest in-region rivals, and they were, okay, they played the entire series without Jing here, so with the roster they're intending to have, but this is a series that losing in this manner to your biggest, like, internal rivals, DRX, Paper-X, we see it all the time, was apparently one step too far. So they go out of this tournament again at top 6, and therefore they've decided to make some changes, and as we can see here now reflected on VLR, RB and Zest inactive on the sub bench, Foxy9 have flashback officially into the roster. So very interesting decision. As I say, I'm kind of surprised that it's happening now as opposed to happening even earlier, but I guess this makes sense. There's some big tournaments they've had over the last couple of months. They thought, let's give it one last shot with our old roster with RB and Zest. It's not working, so they're going to make the changes. Flashback, they've tried him. Foxy9, they've tried him. They've looked pretty good. That's now going to be their full-time roster. But of course, you got to say that even with that roster, when they played at, you know, the Red Bull home grounds or at the 10 Global Invitational, it's not like they were crushing it. Individually, they looked pretty good, those players. But it's not like as a team, they were winning both of those tournaments. To be fair, if they had done, they might not have even changed back in the first place. But clearly, the Africa TV League has made up their mind for them on that one. So very much interested your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. At the end of the day, Sentinels and Paper-X and these other teams, Fnatic, are hitting levels that teams such as DRX, if they want to actually compete and win, they've got to take some risk. I don't think DRX can just rest on their laurels with this old school roster and say, all right, we'll be fine. Let's just, you know, run it out forever and we'll keep, you know, trying to win. I mean, I think the evidence has been, you know, the writing's been on the wall for some time, really, that it's not quite happening with this DRX team. And even if this team, the new roster, works or doesn't work, maybe it doesn't massively matter in the sense that they've got to try something. So Sentinels and Paper-X and Fnatic and these other teams that seem to be some of the best, if not the very best in the world right now, I think the DRX know of recent results. They just can't keep doing what they're doing because they're not going to get back to where they want to be. And let's not forget, you've got to be top 2 in region to even qualify for Masters Madrid. So the pressure is on, especially with Paper-X still, of course, going to look pretty good. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Will we get other further roster changes for other teams after underperformances at some of these events, or will the next one we see be on NRG and exactly what's going on over there? So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.